Hello. Now let's bring your focus back to queues. Once we know what is queue and all its use cases, it's time to see its time complexity. So firstly, in queues, we are mostly performing two operations, enqueue and dequeue, where enqueue is considered to be insertion and dequeue is considered to be deletion, and for both these things the time complexity is O of 1. That is great. Just like a stack, here also the things are very good. The time complexity is what we really want. Once we know this and we know that what the time complexity will be, let's try to write our own queue data structure. So here, when we are talking about the queue, how we should create our class? As we know, in queue, the data is always inserted from the last and always removed from the beginning. So, when we will consider array for queue creation, at that time, when we are performing pushing operation at the end in an array, so actually time complexity will be O of 1. But when we will try to remove item from the first or from the beginning, at that time the time complexity will not be O of 1, it will be O of n. So for queue data creation, use of array is strictly not good as we want our time complexity to be O of 1. In that case, actually the best data structure is linked list. So let's begin. So firstly, when we will create our queue class, it will be something like linked list. So here we will create our node class and then we will create our queue class. And when we are talking about the node class, it will contain value and the next as a property. And our queue class will contain first, last and size as its property. Once we know these things, we are in a position to write our own code. So let's begin. Here, our code will look something like this. Firstly, we will have our node class. Inside that, we will have a constructor. And there, we will have two properties, value and the next. And then, when we are talking about the queue, there we will have a constructor with three properties. Once we know all these things, let's write our code in Visual Studio. Here, we will write our class node first. Inside that we will have a constructor and node class will take value as its parameter. Inside that we will have this dot value is equal to val and this dot next is equal to null in the beginning. Once we have our node class ready, we will create our queue class now. Queue. Inside that again we will have constructor and there we will have three properties. This dot first is equal to null in the beginning, then this dot last which will be equal to null in the beginning, and then this dot size which will be equal to 0 in the beginning. Once we have these two things, our node class and our queue class, we are in a position to write further queue methods like enqueue and dequeue. But all those things we will surely do in our next video tutorial. So please follow my complete playlist about data structure and algorithms and let's meet in our next video. Thank you very much for now.